Hey guys, this is Mike, and back with another video from the electrical engineer's perspective. So, interesting video we're going to have today. I'm going to quickly go over just a couple interesting articles that I saw pop up in the tech world recently, and at the end, I'll actually have a giveaway. Now, first article, I'm going to do three, try and keep it a minute or two on each one just to highlight some interesting ideas. A study was done recently on home routers and how manufacturers have dropped the ball on security. And the idea was that they found, on average, out of 127 routers, they found 53 critical vulnerabilities. So the general idea is that you have routers at your house. Unfortunately, the security on them and the manufacturers that make them don't really seem to care as much as you would hope they would when the potential for you to get hacked or for your information to get stolen, rerouted, man-in-the-middle attacks, etc., are just so prevalent. And it's unfortunate that that's kind of what's been going on, and in some cases, for years. And again, we're talking the main guys here from routers made by Asus, AVM, D-Link, Linksys, Netgear, TP-Link, 127 of them. So you can click on here and kind of look at maybe one of the routers you own might be in here. But the general idea is that there has been a ton of issues and just some of the shortfalls. I'll go over them real quick. Since the last firmware release, the number one thing you guys need to do is just update your routers. Log into them. If you don't know how, Google your specific router and say how to log into my router to update firmware. It mentioned 27 of those 100 plus devices that they looked at have not been updated within 2 years, and the worst case stretching more than 5 years. And the rest were around 1 year. So update your routers. Most antivirus programs issue updates at least daily. And I can definitely vouch every day I get a request to upgrade my Norton or whatever you're using, AVM, tons of different security out there. The age of the operating system, see how Windows is always issuing updates and new updates cause security vulnerabilities. Well, some are 9 years since the last security update was on them. So there might be backdoors in there that the firmware picks up, but the OS itself that it's on is still ripe for exploitation. Pretty interesting. And here's also one of the main items. The average number of critical vulnerabilities found for each router was 53. 53 points of attack. And there was a whopping up to 348. Exploit mitigation, I guess newer ways in which they're marking regions of memory where you can't run an executable, which could be used to do some sort of attack, like a man-in-the-middle. Don't really have them. Public keys, private keys, these are used when you're sending data and it gets encrypted. You need the public key and then you need the private key to decrypt, etc. They have to match up. It mentions that these keys, even in like a Netgear R6800, which is a good router, provided up to 13 private keys. It was published in the firmware itself. So people could impersonate the device because they know what its private key is. They're acting as if they're the receiver. Hardcoded logins. This is a pretty interesting one. If you pick up any old Cisco router, the default logins of admin and password are hard-coded in. Basically, anyone that can get to your router, they can pretend that they don't know, reset everything, and then they get access. Admin and password are hard-coded. You can't change it. So good news is 60% of router firmwares do not have this, but that leaves the other 40% that have it are easily crackable credentials. So it's definitely unfortunate. People need to update their routers as much as they can. What I've personally done is I took an old computer, I installed pfSense routing on it, which basically allows you to have a software-defined control of how your network traffic is. So if I have an item like a webcam or a security camera that I don't think is secure, I go into my pfSense router, I physically link it up to that switch, and then in software I say, any of this network traffic does not have access to any other part of my network. It can go to the internet and back. So at least that's my current solution. And if anyone's interested, I can actually show you how to set that up. Let me know in the comments on that. Second article, this one's pretty cool. It's talking about MEMS speakers and the idea of monolithic chip design. So the idea of monolithic chip design is that you're taking multiple technologies and you're putting them onto a single chip, physically stacked on top of each other, right? So if this does one purpose, you put this an additional application on the same silicon just slightly above it. And what's cool is that these aren't like the regular speakers that you might know about, where it's a magnet and it's pushing air. In this sense, they're using piezoelectric devices. And let me look that up. Let me see if I can find you a picture first, at least. So here's the chip. Let me zoom in a little bit here. A really tiny little device. And I guess the main market for these is the idea that it's going to be used in earbuds or headphones, and these small electronic devices. And I'll get into a little bit as to what the use is for these. One, they're super small, 200 millimeter wafer technology. I guess another defining trait about these is that you don't need thousands of workers in laboratories taking multiple parts and putting together. This is one chip, highly repeatable, probably cheaper to produce overall. And if we look at this graph, which is pretty interesting, this is what's known as, get these stinking ads out of here. This is a frequency response chart. So basically, if we apply, if we want to see the SPL, which is the, oh goodness, it's already lost my mind. I think it's signal pressure level or sound pressure level. And you see at 20 hertz all the way up to 20,000 hertz here. What's the frequency response? How loud can this produce noise at this frequency? So you see at 20 hertz right here, around 90 dB, it's actually relatively flat. And then we see around 2000, it jumps up. We see some motion here up and down. But the general idea is that over the spectrum, this device is still capable of producing relatively loud sound waves at 1 meter away from this device at decent levels where it can be used as a speaker. It's a semiconductor process, as it says up here. Semiconductor process, it's highly repeatable. There's no fancy calibrating or matching with coils that are used today in speaker technology. Again, you got 10 hertz-ish up to 20 kilohertz for frequency response. You can get up to about 115 dB, which is loud, depending on how far away you are away from it. Huge item. Low power consumption, 42 microwatts for just the speaker part. But again, just low powered, low latency across all frequencies. Waterproof, which is also super cool. Dust proof, because it's one chip. It's not multiple pieces being combined here, which is interesting. It's a small package. And the idea of piezoelectric, if someone's not ever really heard of it, this is an interesting look. Let's see if I can show you here. The general idea is that if you have a specific material and you hook up a voltmeter to it, so on each end you hook up a voltmeter, it measures the electrical potential. If you apply a physical force to that device or to that material, the molecules that make it up align in such a way that it allows the movement of electrons. It's generating electricity in a sense. And then the opposite's true. If you find a material, you wire it up here, wire up this material, apply a voltage to it, then it's as if you're exerting a physical pressure or force on that object itself. So by applying a voltage to this object or material within that chip, it's able to cause it to move, expand. It causes the physical molecules, which is usually silicon and oxygen, to arrange itself in such a way where it creates a distribution of positive and negative charges and allows electron flow. So a little cool device, definitely something that could be used in the next generation of headsets. Now, let's get back to the last article here, which is pretty interesting in my opinion. There is a completely new plasmatic chip used in just the lab, so not in real world, but in the lab, for ultra-fast data transmission using light. And again, this is monolithic. And I'll show you, I'm just going to quickly go over this. You can read the article, it's fascinating. But just to quickly summarize it, just from this image, what has always happened in technology is that if you have something that's electric and you want to convert it to photonic or light, the hardware's different, the size of the hardware is different. You're going to have to physically take one chip, take the other chip, and then connect them. Monolithic design, right? The electronics application in blue, and then there's plasmatics, which is the light section in red, stacked on top of each other in one chip. Very cool, very interesting. I think they said 20 years ago this wasn't even possible. And what can you do with this? Let's see if I can find at least the point in the article to highlight this. In the electric section here, that blue area, there's a 4-to-1 multiplexing. 4 lower speed input signals are amplified together such that they form a high-speed electric signal. It's then converted into high-speed optical. And they're able to transmit data on this chip at over 100 gigabits per second for the first time. So if you have Verizon Fios at your house, you might get 1 gigabit per second. This chip's able to do 100 or 100 houses hooked up to Fios on this little tiny chip. Fascinating technology, right? But the idea is here, you can see data in. So let's say you got a bunch of switches in your house, or in this case, this would probably be used in more of a lab environment or in a service provider's internet network. All the switches from the routers, so coming in data 1, 2, 3, 4. In this blue section, it would get converted into light. And then vias. Vias are basically little tiny roadways that are within the chip. These are very, very small, so the delay in timing is very, very small compared to a wire connecting chips together or going through a motherboard. It's all on chip, it's super fast, it's able to bring it from the electronics layer, convert it as light, up to the plasmonics layer, the photonics, the light section, and then those 4 different paths are converted into one, and then the laser there is then able to output it by flashing at over about 100 gigs per second. So cool technology. Where do you see this maybe in the future of networks? Again, we're always trying to get faster and faster. Where's the information here? That would be cool. It says the region of 10 to the 9 right now, which is gigabit for 5G networks. And again, they're trying to reach in the terabits, 10 to the 12. So the ever-growing demand for online services, storage, computation, AI, 5G networks. We're going to need faster internet. We're going to need more bandwidth. We're going to need faster throughput. And this is just a cool technology in the works. Maybe if you can find a commercial company in the future that's going to use this, you can maybe invest in them in the future. And yeah, that's going to cut it for interesting articles. And just to get onto the giveaway. A couple of videos ago, I reviewed these, which were the Anker Soundcore Life.2s. That video got huge likes, tons of views for just starting out as a new channel, and I'm really humbled by that. And I thought, why not give these away? And just FYI, I will clean them with alcohol, keep the germs out there, corona out. And just the quick rules for this, it's going to be really simple. I want everyone to like this video. I want everyone to subscribe to the channel. So EE Tech Reviews. Right, so I need you to like, subscribe to the channel, and comment in the comment section. I'll be picking a random person in the comment section 2 weeks from today. And I believe that is going to be the 25th of July. And finally, follow all of my other social media. So that's Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. All the links will be in the description. But yeah, guys, hope you enjoyed it. Into the giveaway. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment below, and then follow or like all of my social media. I'll pick a random comment in 2 weeks, DM you, and I'll ship it out. All right, guys. This is Mike from EE Tech Reviews, and have a good day, guys.